The moment he clicked publish, Tyler Posey had no idea how far the ripples would reach. What started as an attempt to explore himself more openly, maybe even reclaim a sense of control, spiraled into something else entirely. Headlines, controversy, accusations, and at the center of it all his body, his past, and the fine line between empowerment and exploitation. In 2020, at the peak of a chaotic digital world, one post would challenge how we talk about identity, fame, and self-expression. For many, Tyler Posey was still remembered as the heartthrob from Teen Wolf. Charming, athletic, tattooed, he was the guy on posters, the lead in fan fiction, a staple of Tumblr internet obsession. But underneath the spotlight, there was a very different Tyler, a man who had battled depression, substance dependency, and the suffocating weight of being a public figure from such a young age. He was never just the werewolf. He was the child star who lost his mother to cancer. The guy who had lived in the machine of Hollywood for too long. And when the world paused during the pandemic, Tyler decided to strip back the layers, literally. OnlyFans had exploded by 2020. Once a niche platform, it became a cultural phenomenon, a place where celebrities and regular creators alike could connect with their audience in raw, unfiltered ways, usually behind a paywall. When Tyler joined, it felt like a surprise. He wasn't promoting a project. He wasn't doing it for a role. Simply said he wanted to be more real, share more of himself. The posts began. Shirtless videos, expressive content, playful teasing, and stories about his journey with sobriety, self-love, and fluidity. But the reactions came even faster. Many praised his openness. Fans said he was embracing a freer side of himself, exploring identity without shame. Some saw it as brave, a male celebrity defying traditional expectations. The criticism hit hard, especially from queer communities online. They accused him of presenting content that hinted at queerness to attract a specific audience without fully aligning with their experience. Screenshots spread quickly. Tweets dissected every phrase. Think pieces debated whether Tyler Posey was being honest or simply monetizing curiosity. Practical word, pubbledacrer, probide de, It was about why he was doing this and for whom. Was it a safe space for exploration? Or a calculated move to tap into a loyal fan base, many of whom felt exhausted by years of being teased by media narratives that hinted at inclusion but never delivered authenticity? Tyler, caught in the eye of the storm, responded. In interviews and posts, he opened up about experimenting with men. He spoke about his fluidity, saying he didn't want to be boxed in by labels. He admitted he had made mistakes, that he might not have used the right words, that he was still figuring things out. But the internet isn't always a forgiving place. People wanted clarity. They wanted consistency. They wanted to know, was this expression, or was it strategy? As the headlines multiplied, so did the division. Some fans left, as others defended him fiercely. And Tyler seemed torn between vulnerability and performance, walking a tightrope between personal growth and public perception. What no one fully realized was the depth of the pressure he felt. His entire life had been shaped by public approval. His body was scrutinized before he was even an adult. His identity had always been filtered through roles, red carpets, and rumors. Maybe, for the first time, he wanted to claim something of his own. But the internet doesn't allow for quiet experiments anymore. Everything is content. Everything is monetized. And when your body becomes a brand, your every move becomes a transaction. What began as an attempt to reconnect with himself soon turned into a lesson in how unforgiving fame and fandom can be. Tyler Posey didn't set out to be a symbol. He wasn't trying to be a voice for an entire community. But when you live in the public eye and then open a door marked OnlyFans, You, Dan T., get to choose how people see you. That choice is often made for you. And once the floodgates opened, Tyler was no longer just a former teen idol experimenting with self-expression. He became the focal point of a much larger debate. Who gets to profit from coded content, and what responsibilities come with that? In the early days of his launch, it was clear that Tyler was enjoying himself. He laughed in videos. He flirted in captions. He told stories about his personal experiences with identity. But the tone quickly shifted once criticism began. Activists and online users accused him of creating a false image to generate income from subscribers. They argued that it was part of a bigger pattern, public figures performing for attention without acknowledging the deeper meaning behind the experience they represented. Tyler, for his part, didn't remain silent. He took 2 interviews and live streams, clarifying that he identified as sexually fluid, that his interest in men wasn't performative, that he wasn't faking anything for engagement. He even admitted that he was still figuring it out, that labels made him feel trapped, and that the freedom to express himself through content and conversation was helping him heal after years of shame and confusion. But in the eyes of many, that wasn't enough. Critics felt his content lacked transparency, that he was blurring lines between personal and performative in ways that weren't clear. And that can be confusing in a world where identity is still politicized and often misunderstood. The outrage wasn't just about Tyler Posey. It was about a culture that often celebrates certain voices for being open, while others are left behind for simply being honest. The frustration didn't come from nowhere. It came from history. For decades, representation had been pushed to the sidelines. In film, in music, in advertising. People had watched as stories hinted at inclusion, as artists danced around the topic, as public figures teased something real only to retreat when the pressure rose. So when Tyler stepped into that space with confidence and stories of personal experiences, many felt it wasn't authentic, it was opportunistic. And yet others saw something else entirely. They saw a young man trying to untangle years of internal conflict. Someone raised in an image-driven world where identity was either denied or manipulated. Someone who might not have had all the answers, but had the heart to be open. They didn't see a problem. They saw a person flawed, evolving, human. The conversation around Tyler Posey became less about what he did and more about what we expect from public figures. What happens when identity, fame, and money collide? How do we respond when someone famous says they still learning before the internet decides they already wrong? It was a twist of irony. Tyler Posey had spent years trying to shed the roles others gave him, and now he was being accused of crafting another one. The faces changed, the fans changed, but the pressure stayed the same: be who we want, or face the consequences. He later admitted the backlash affected him deeply, that the internet had turned something vulnerable into something transactional. He said he regretted how some things were shared, that he never meant to mislead, but there was also fatigue in his words, an awareness that no matter what he said, the story had been chosen for him. And still, Tyler didn't stop. He continued creating. He stayed. He released music. He opened up about mental health. He shared his journey with recovery and identity, not to fix his image, but simply because that's who he was. It wasn't about winning. It was about existing, because sometimes just continuing is the most radical thing you can do. The world critiques easily, but it rarely gives people space to change. For Tyler, the spotlight became both his platform and his prison. As the headlines moved on and attention faded, he remained, still sharing, still growing, still learning how to exist without apology or performance. That's where the real story began, not in the controversy, but in what came after.
Yes.
In the quiet, in the work, in the clarity of knowing you don't have to be perfect to be real. He didn't erase the uncomfortable parts of his story. He slowed down. He leaned into music, into reflection, into connection. He stopped chasing impact and started seeking truth. Tyler Posey didn't offer all the answers, but he gave others permission to ask questions, to feel uncertain, to be honest. And that's what many missed. He was never a campaign. He wasn't a headline. He was just a human being in transition. Maybe the lesson was never about the controversy at all. Maybe it was this: your story doesn't need permission, it just needs to be lived.